American Pickers star Mike Wolfe gets candid about Frank Fritz's opioid addiction and his show exit. Mike Wolfe is shedding light on the life of his late friend Frank Fritz. The two were co-hosts of the History Channel reality show American Pickers for 22 seasons. Fritz died last month at 60 years old, and now Wolfe, 60, is reflecting on their decades-long friendship and Fritz's private battle with opioid addiction. Here's the deal, Wolfe told People magazine on Monday. "I don't have the right to tell his story, only he does. But I do have, I feel, the right to tell the personal story of how myself and so many people struggled to navigate what was going on in his life." The reality star noted how he and Fritz were both dealing with relationships that were falling apart during the pandemic. The late star also suffered a back injury while moving things around at home and underwent surgery. The reality star noted how he and Fritz were both dealing with relationships that were falling apart during the pandemic. The late star also suffered a back injury while moving things around at home and underwent surgery. Once filming for American Pickers started up again post-lockdown, Wolfe fought really hard to get Fritz into rehab. Despite the fact that Wolfe never ever gave up on Fritz, when production asked for negative drug tests, his best friend wasn't able to provide them. "The network just finally made the decision," said Wolfe. "They're just like, listen, we have to move on. We have to keep going with this." I had mixed emotions about doing that, and we were just trying to figure out what we were going to do. In a 2021 interview with The Sun, Fritz opened up about seeking treatment for alcohol abuse. He told the outlet he hadn't spoken to Wolfe in 2 years and shared that he felt that he took second place, while Wolfe was considered no one in the show's eyes. Wolfe touched on the longtime friends' rift, but stated that he and Fritz never disconnected. "I stepped away for a little because I was watching what he was doing, but I still fought for him to go to rehab, and I still had those conversations," he told the outlet. "I never stepped away from him completely. That would be impossible for me to do. But I watched all of it unfold. I tried to help him as best I could, and we did speak." Losing Fritz's friendship at the time was like losing a brother, shared the TV personality. Wolfe even acknowledged that Fritz's words against Wolfe came from a place of pain. But eventually, the two reunited. "It was beautiful. He was struggling with addiction. I know how judgmental the public can be. And so that's why when we did end up speaking again, it was so easy for me to forgive him because I knew it wasn't him talking. It was his addiction talking," Wolfe remembered. Fritz was hospitalized for a stroke in 2022, and his health never recovered. On September 30, he died from stroke complications at age 60. Wolfe shared that when Fritz took his final breath, Wolfe's mother and Fritz's late mother's best friend Annette were by his side. For years, American Pickers fans have followed the dynamic duo of Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz as they traveled across America, hunting for rare antiques and hidden treasures. Their chemistry, humor, and shared passion for picking made them a beloved team on History Channel's hit show. But in recent seasons, Frank's absence became increasingly noticeable, leaving fans to wonder what had happened to their favorite picker. In a heartfelt interview, Mike Wolfe, the show's creator and star, finally opened up about Frank's exit and the struggles that led to it. For the first time, he shed light on the deeply personal issues that had impacted Frank's life and, ultimately, his departure from the series. The beginning of the struggle. Mike's relationship with Frank goes back decades. The two met in the early 1980s and quickly bonded over their love of antiques. They spent years traveling together, picking through barns, estates, and junkyards in search of valuable items to resell. What fans didn't see, however, was the toll that the lifestyle was taking on Frank, particularly his struggles with addiction. Frank's addiction issues were never a secret in the picking community, but the details of his opioid dependency were mostly kept under wraps for years. Mike, however, had always been a supportive friend, watching as Frank's addiction spiraled out of control. It was a painful process for Mike, who was forced to stand by and watch his best friend battle demons that were ultimately too strong to fight alone. Frank's struggles were something he kept close to his chest for a long time, Mike admits. It wasn't easy for him to talk about it, and he didn't want to admit that he needed help. But as time went on, it became clear that something wasn't right. It wasn't just the show, it was his life. Frank's addiction to opioids began to affect his work on American Pickers. His energy, once an essential part of the show's dynamic, started to fade, and his focus shifted. Fans noticed that he appeared increasingly absent, and eventually, his health began to deteriorate. For Mike, it was a delicate balance of friendship, loyalty, and tough love. I knew he needed help, but I couldn't make him accept it. That was his journey to make, not mine, Mike reflects. The turning point. As Frank's addiction worsened, the production of American Pickers became increasingly difficult. He missed multiple filming schedules, and when he did show up, he often seemed out of it. At the same time, Mike's role as the show's leader became even more demanding, and the dynamic between the two friends started to shift. Mike was faced with the difficult task of carrying the show on his own, while also trying to be there for Frank in his personal life. Despite their history and close bond, it became clear that Frank's addiction was too much to overcome at the time. The decision for Frank to take a break from the show was mutual, but it didn't come without its emotional cost. I wanted Frank to get better. I wanted him to have his life back. But sometimes you have to step away from everything to heal, Mike says. The moment that sealed Frank's departure was when Mike realized that Frank's health and well-being had to come first. The show, as much as it meant to both of them, was secondary. We didn't know when Frank would be back. And honestly, we still don't know. It's a process, and it's one day at a time. The opioid crisis, a personal look. Mike's candidness about Frank's opioid addiction brings awareness to a larger issue that has affected millions of people across the country. The opioid crisis has devastated communities and families, and Frank's struggle is just one example of how addiction can impact even the most successful individuals. Mike knows firsthand how difficult addiction can be to overcome. It's hard for people to understand the hold that addiction has on someone. It's not a choice, it's a disease, Mike shares. Watching someone you love go through that and not being able to fix it, it's heartbreaking. I don't think anyone truly understands the weight of addiction until they're living through it themselves. While Mike remains hopeful that Frank will eventually overcome his struggles, he also understands that recovery is a long road. I have faith in Frank. He's a fighter. But addiction is a lifelong battle, and it doesn't just go away. I can't tell you when or if he'll be back on the show, but I know that his health comes first. Mike's decision to speak openly about Frank's struggles was not easy. It's a deeply personal matter, and one that Mike had kept private for years. But he felt that it was time to share the truth with the world, not only to explain Frank's absence, but also to shed light on the harsh realities of addiction. Moving forward. Despite the pain of losing his longtime partner on American Pickers, Mike has continued to move forward, both with the show and in his personal life. The show has brought in new faces to fill the gap left by Frank's departure, but Mike makes it clear that no one will ever truly replace Frank. We've had some great people come and work with us on the show, but Frank is one of a kind. He's my brother, and no one can replace that bond. That's why it's been so hard for me, as a friend, to continue without him. But I have to keep going. I know he wants that for me too. Through all the challenges, Mike has remained hopeful for Frank's future. He continues to check in on him, offering support when needed, while also respecting Frank's space to heal on his own terms. At the end of the day, Frank's my friend, and I just want him to be happy and healthy, Mike says. When he's ready, we'll be here. The door's always open. As American Pickers continues, Mike's fans have rallied behind him, showing their support for both Mike and Frank. The show may never be the same without Frank's larger-than-life presence, but Mike's commitment to his friend and to the show remains unwavering. In the end, Mike Wolfe's story is one of resilience, loyalty, and friendship. His decision to speak openly about Frank Fritz's opioid addiction offers a glimpse into the difficult realities that lie behind the scenes of their popular show. While Frank's future on American Pickers remains uncertain, Mike's dedication to his friend shows that, for him, the most important thing is always family, whether that family is on screen or off.